cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the. Wake up, get out the sheets. We came for war, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let her tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Beg, please get on your knees. Came from the jungle, up in the trees. I got a few tricks up in the sleeve. One wrong move, I'ma let out the. Big shoes, check out the crease. Blow like I'm Bigfoot, step on the beat. Make a man's run till he step out the cleats. When the whole place scream, gotta get out the. Yeah, I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let her tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that.
Pulling up, shut it down when I'm pulling up. Come around when I'm pulling up. In my town and I'm pulling up. Ready for anything, anyone. Know that I get it done. In the bands I be pulling up. Tell your friends cause I'm pulling up. Ready or not, I be pulling up. Remember they said I'm not good enough. I took all the energy, turned it to greatness. Now look at my life, man, it's looking amazing. I'm ready for anything, anyone. I've been so ready for everything I become. When I was stuck, I had no other option. Believed in myself when the shit wasn't popping. I got it like that. Who you know got it like that? Who you know getting degrees and they rapping like they got diplomas in rap? Made it this far and I still got a lot to accomplish. In fact, and I know they believe it. I'm talking arenas from LA to Sweden. I never stop winning, I feel undefeated. I come to your city and everyone pulling up. Shut it down when I'm pulling up. Come around when I'm pulling up. In my town and I'm pulling up. Ready for anything, anyone. Know that I get it done. In the bands I be pulling up. Tell your friends cause I'm pulling up. Shut it down when I'm pulling up. Come around when I'm pulling up. In my town and I'm pulling up. Ready for anything, anyone. Know that I get it done. In the bands I be pulling up. Tell your friends cause I'm pulling up. Pull up, I get what I want. I need a million ones. I need a couple of states to put all the haters back into their place. Now bringing the bass, ayy, ready for the big league. Never gonna miss me when I'm on the TV. I'm the MVP. Whenever they hear me, kill it. They be coming at me, but I hit them with a pivot. I've been ready for the shit. Never gonna quit. Pull up and I'm never gonna miss. Everybody want it, but I know I gotta get it. I've been dedicated to a life I know I gotta live. Ayy, I feel it coming. I settle for nothing. I know what I need, and it's more than the money. It's more than a woman.
Tell me, is it whack up in the air? Rapping scattered off the gear. I can map him, get it, yeah. It's like a tracker, get distracted, send him back like in the mail. Not a fraction of them real. Catch him lacking, run the drill. Running through the shit like a motherfucking dage.
Welcome back to another vlog, guys. On this episode, it's not actually going to be a vlog. It's going to be a bit different. So we've got, this is going to be a feature video of the 180SX behind me. That is mine. And I love this car the most out of all the cars I own. I've had it for about 6 years now. It didn't used to look like this. I bought it completely bone stock off one of my mates, and the car was originally black and it had a CA18 DET in it, so still the turbo, but it was not looking pretty. It had been sitting in an old dude's front yard for about apparently almost 10 years, and it had weeds growing around it. It was absolutely hideous. And one of my friends bought it off this old fella, just went on up to his door, randomly knocked on the door and asked if he wanted to sell it. He bought it off him, and then I bought it off my mate. That was back when prices on JDM cars were actually affordable. I got it for $4,400. Yeah, $4,400. And now the same thing is around 10 grand, like for the same, just a stock 180. It did have an intercooler on the front and a pod filter. That's about it. Other than that, bone stock. So I quickly got to work modifying this car. Dad and myself did everything on this car, start to finish, other than the dyno tune and the exhaust system. So pretty much the whole thing, start to finish in Dad's shed. I had the CA18 in there for a while, and I started to modify the engine, not internally but like bolt-on parts to make it faster. So I put on a T28 turbo, ball bearing turbo, so that did a lot of help, like the intake, did a whole heap of things to it to make it heaps faster. Got a NISSAN ECU put in and dyno tuned that, and I got up to 270 horsepower, and the acceleration was insane. It was the fastest car I'd ever had, and it was awesome. So that was a lot of fun until I went out to Matsuri, and I went in my mate Sam West's 180SX. If any of you guys know that thing is a weapon. It had an RB25 in it, making about 650 horsepower, something stupid like that. And the thing was an absolute weapon. That dude can drive like nothing. And yeah, I went out in that passenger run at Matsuri, completely blew my mind, and straight away I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, where the hell can I find an RB25? And so it only took about a week, and I found an R33 that was completely in pieces, and some guy that owned it, he broke his leg, and so he cleaned everything on the car. He pulled it all down, cleaned everything, and then put it up for sale. I bought the whole package for $2,000, like the 33 and the RB25, the box, everything was there. I ended up using that as a donor car, took the driveline gear out of that and put it straight in the 180, and then sold all the extra parts that I didn't need, all the stock stuff, and had enough money to bolt on good aftermarket parts, all secondhand, onto the 180SX. So from that car, I also used the R33 rear cradle GK Tech offset bushings that allow you to fit, they've got the offset hole, so it allows you to fit the subframe into the 180SX. And those subframes have a lot better handbraking system, and it's just an upgrade. So that made sense to buy the offset bushings, chuck that straight in. That was a shit job, but it's in there now, so we don't have to talk about it. Then once we got the engine in, then it was the challenge to do the wiring, and I took it upon myself to do it myself. And I searched on Google. Luckily with the 180SX and RB25 spot, it's been done a million times, so there was lots of information online to help me along the way. And I found a full wiring diagram, and I was like, sweet, I'm just gonna follow this, easy as. Nah, that was like a 3-day process that drove me crazy. But once I got it in the end, it was only like about 6 wires that you need to change from one harness to the other and mesh them together. And yeah, it was easy out, so I could do it again, no worries, but actually figuring out what the hell I was doing was hard. And yeah, it was really rewarding once I got it to start for the first time. Man, I wish I was doing YouTube back then, because that was some freaking awesome times. Like, there's nothing better than putting a car together, turn the key for the first time, and then getting it to start. It's a long process, but it's so worth it. If anyone's out there is doing it right now, stick in there, because yeah, it's the best feeling when you do it yourself. From there, it took us start to finish to put the RB25 into the 180. It took us 6 weeks, but it wasn't 6 weeks straight. Obviously, I was still working in between, and then it was our spare time in between that. So you can do it quite fast, but it always takes longer than you expect, especially with cars. Like, you think, oh yeah, I'll just put the gearbox onto the engine. Yeah, that took us a whole day. For some reason, like the spigot bearing, is it spigot bearing? I think so. The spigot bearing was like kind of just pushed in on one side, and it wouldn't allow for the gearbox to line up, and that was a freaking shit time. But we got it on there, and now I haven't had to think about it, so that's good. But it was just a bitch, one of those things where you think, oh yeah, it'll take us like an hour to do that, and then it takes you the whole day. It happens all the time with cars, as if you've worked on cars, you probably know yourself. So that's why sometimes when you say, oh yeah, it'll take us an hour, and it does take an hour, it's just like smiles all around, everyone's happy, because yeah, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's sick. So got the engine in, started the car up. So basically, when we did the engine swap, the bolt-ons I had on at the time was a GTX 35 Garrett Turbo, so that's the dual ball bearing one, spools up a bit faster. And I had just a steam pipe on there at the time, which was my budget. And the other thing that I was lacking was my ECU. I just had an old ass Haltech on there. It was an E11 V2. So if anyone knows that ECU, it's ancient, it's like a dinosaur. And it was still on 98 as well. I didn't transfer it over, I kept it on 98. And took it to the dyno. I go to Benny's Auto and Dyno, if you want to check that out in the description below. He's the best tuner I've found by far. He's up in Underwood, and yeah, just when you find a good tuner, stick with them because it's hard and it's expensive. So yeah, it was tuned on 98 still with an old ECU, and it made 430 horsepower, which at the time was absolutely insane. It was the highest horsepower car I've ever driven, and it was a freaking ball. Like, I loved it so much. But then after a little while, I realized that E85 wasn't going to be that expensive to change over to. I just had to upgrade the fuel system, and while I was there, I was putting in a surge tank because I wanted to drift the car. So after a while, I saved up and I bought an Haltech Elite 2500, which is the best Haltech you can get at the moment. That thing is well worth the money because it's an adaptive ECU, and it learns on idle. It can learn to adjust the ratios, and just the thing is like night and day between the last ECU. Beautiful thing that is. And so it went back to the tuner with the new ECU. It had a 6-boost manifold on it, which had a twin scroll outlet on it, which for better flow, and it had the E85 fuel system in there. Took it to the tuner. It made 500 horsepower almost on the dot, and I got it back from him, and just moved up to a whole nother freaking world of fast. And it was scary to drive. So I put some big tires on the back, some big semi slicks. They're 265s on the rear, and yeah, that stick down pretty good. And I run semis just on the street, so slippery at the start, but once you warm up, super sticky, which is great because my missus actually drives this car more than me. She drives it down to the grocery shop to get our groceries, and that's a lot of the driving that it does. It's still registered and everything, but I don't get out in it enough. Recently, I've been starting to drive it a lot more, especially since starting YouTube. It's given me the incentive to actually drive it more, which is good because before I got real lazy with it. So not too long ago, the 180 was black, and I started getting into drifting. I always bought the car with intention to drift it. That was always the main goal. But I also really enjoyed building cars as well. So it was kind of like a balance, and I spent a long time building it without drifting it. I just didn't have the budget to always buy tires. Even though it's not super expensive, at the start when you're learning, it's not that expensive to start drifting with tires and usage I'm talking about. The first event I went to was out at Skid Control. Those guys hold the sickest events. Make sure you hit up their page. It was the Mount Cotton wet skid pan, and they have a little mini track, and they put diesel and water on the track. Super slippery. Probably the best track to go and learn how to steer, because obviously in the wet you've got a lot more time to learn what your car's going to do and to figure out what you're supposed to do. So I went to that like 5 times before I even went on a proper track. And I've never street drifted before in industrials and things like that. Like I did do some stuff, but not proper street drifting, because of the fact that I don't want to lose my license. I need to drive a work truck around for my job every day, and if I lose my license, I can't work. I'm self-employed, so that's a big thing for me. So that's the main reason why I've never done street drifting. I don't encourage it, but if you're doing it, I don't tell people not to street drift. I don't tell people to street drift. If you are going to do it, don't do it in broad daylight around people where it's actually dangerous, because that's just silly, and you don't want to put other people in danger. And just, yeah, if you want to do that, go do it somewhere away from people, basically, and it should be fine. Like, I don't see an issue with people doing that where it's not going to hurt anyone. Like, there's no drama in that. But anyway, so I try to stay on the track, and the 180, I was progressing, like starting to get the hang of it, get the basics down, and then I moved to the actual track. I did one track day that was a short track event where I took it out there, and my diff, it was the R200 diff, and it's meant to be LSD, but it kept opening up, and so that blew the whole event, and I had to go home, get a new diff. Ended up putting a R200 with a Nismo 2-way LSD center into the car, and straight after that the car was like transformed with the way it would do a skid was unreal. So then there was a long period where I didn't drift or do anything with the car because it went off to Dane from Loco to get a complete paint restoration on it, because the original black that was on the car was from Japan and it was all faded and looking not too nice. So I got the body kit sorted. It's all fiberglass. The rear fenders are Origin Lab, and I got them all second hand offline. Pretty much the whole car's second hand except for the fuel pumps and injectors, but that's the beauty of it. It's legit like a second hand car. It's a very budget spec car until I got into this next stage that I'm about to talk about. So Dad and myself thought that we would paint the car. Got the body kit sorted, and then I bought a wedding marquee off Marketplace for like 150 bucks, set that up in his front yard, drove the car in, put a pedestal fan at the back to make for a vent to suck their fumes out, and then we sanded back and sprayed the car. That was a disaster. We ended up spraying it a few times, and then on the last time when it turned out the best, it actually rained and dripped on the front bumper bar, and it didn't look nice at all. But it stayed like that for a while because from a distance it was mint. It was one of those 20-meter cars, just beautiful from a distance. So then after a while I decided it was time to actually like do the appearance of the car to make it look nice, because I started out focusing on the performance, and then now it was time to actually get the thing to look nice. So I had to pick a color that I was going to paint the car, and I wanted it to really stand out and look unique. That's the best thing. That's the thing that I like most about JDM cars. Like, you can customize them a lot. There's so many aftermarket parts that you can make it look really unique and like a mirror image of yourself. So I wanted to pick a red car to stand out and just look really nice and clean. So I took the car to Dane from Loco, and he the car was meant to be just like your average quick red spray, and I was going to take it to the track and just, yeah, it was going to be just a basic red. And then he's like, no, we're going to do Mazda Soul Red. That's the color that we went with, and it came out beautiful. Like, when I went to pick the car up, I don't know, I was almost in tears. Like, it didn't look like it was my car. It went from black to red, which is just a complete transformation. Fully blew my mind, and I was so pumped to just like get it home and just stare at it for a few days. And then after that, I made the choice to put the white wheels on there, the white Kawamis that are on there now. Like, that just set the car off so nice because the wheels just pop, especially when they're just being cleaned. And yeah, it just looks sick. I love it so much. Best combination, red and white. And so the whole reason why I got it resprayed was because Zara and I's wedding was coming up, and I wanted the car to look really nice for the wedding. And I actually drove the 180 with my best man in the car to the wedding. And yeah, me and Zara got photos in the 180, so it was a big part of the wedding. And Zara got a ride in a Chevy Impala that Dane owns with the hydraulics. If you've seen it, it's freaking sick. And yeah, it was the best wedding you could ever ask for. It was perfect weather, and yeah, it was a very special day. Okay, so recently I started getting into drifting a lot, and the turbo that was on the car was just too big for my skill level. It wasn't working for me, so I ended up deciding to swap the turbo down to a smaller size. So now it's got a GTX 3076R, and I'm finding, like, got it retuned, and now I'm finding it's so much more responsive. I absolutely love it. I got that ready for Matsuri, that's just been, and got the car out there. I mainly drove the S13, but when I did drive the 180, it was a freaking blast, so much fun. So then after Matsuri, kind of a not so nice thing happened. If you haven't seen the episodes that I've done on it, basically we got pulled over by the police. There was a defect station parked out the front of QR, waiting for everyone that was at Matsuri to come out one by one. There's only one way in and out of the track, and they were pulling over all the cars randomly. You may have seen in my previous YouTube videos about the incident, but yeah, so they were all waiting for us to come out of the track. There's only one way in and out, and yeah, like, if they were doing random breath tests, I'd say good on them, because if people were drinking and driving home from an event, that's obviously dangerous. But if your car's defected, yeah, it's illegal, but you are going out to the track to make it an effort to do the right thing. So yeah, it was really unfortunate that we were picked, because obviously I don't do any street drifting, and I take my cars to the track to actually drift, pay the money and try and do the right thing. But I do have illegal mods on it, so yeah, they fined me. They did let me off pretty easy, which was very nice, and they were very nice police. It sort of didn't seem like they went there out of their own way to just book people and be real pain in the asses. It sort of got the impression that they were just sent there from somewhere higher up. So I don't know, that was the whole thing. So I've just been working on the car to clear all the defects that they picked up on. There was 4 major ones, so they've all been fixed now. About to take it back tomorrow to get it cleared, and then I can enjoy the car again. I had to raise it up quite a bit, but it is what it is. So with this 180SX, I never plan to sell it. I'm always going to have it in my life. The prices of them just keep going up, but I'm never going to sell it. I've just spent too much time on it and money that it's just not even worth me selling it. I do know the exact figure that I have spent on the car, and it's plus 30k. So it is a lot of money, but it's been over a long period of time. So I basically built the car while I was making 750 bucks a week. So it was a super budget, and if I had done it right the first time, it would have been a lot cheaper. But that incorporates all the dyno tunes that I've had on the car, and the different engines and different parts for different engines. So if I had done, I always say, if you want more power, just put a bigger engine in it straight off the bat. There's no point trying to make a little engine more powerful. I like bigger engines because you get more torque and then a bunch of other benefits as well. So the car's going to be going through a heap of changes in the future. I'm planning to change this car into a show car rather than a drift car, because I'm also building other cars at the moment to be a dedicated drift car, because it is inevitable that they will get damaged, and I really don't want to break this thing. It's a really nice car, and it's very straight, so I would hate to freaking like reverse it into a wall or something like that. So the plans going forward are airbag suspension, and I'm going to change the body kit to mold in and all be all shaven and nice and smoothed off, and then a respray so that it's like perfect. And then I'll be going to car shows with it, and yeah, cruising. It's still going to be registered, but yeah. But the last Matsuri was the last time that this car is going to see any drifting in the dry. It may do wet skid pan days if I'm that crazy, because even if you're on the wet skid pan, you can still damage your car just by like the clearances on the front wheels. They can still grab the guard and break it. So I don't know, I'll see if I'm feeling game, I'll do that. But yeah, thanks to everyone for watching this video. It's been pretty cool talking about the evolution of the car and reminiscing on all the old memories. It was like, yeah, it's a big part of my life, and massive thanks to everyone involved as well. Massive thanks to Jay Ackroyd for editing this film. Like, the dude's got some crazy skills, as you just seen, and make sure you go check out his channel. It'll be in the link below. And then also thanks to everyone for supporting me on my channel and watching all my videos, and I hope you're excited as me to see the 180 transform into a proper show car. Thanks heaps for watching, guys. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't done already. Drop a comment below on what you want to see done on the 180 next, and then also hit that subscribe button.